Good evening traders, it's Mark here from the day trading room. The time is 25 to 11 on Thursday the 14th of October, that's 25 to 11 London time, and what an interesting day we have had today. I'm going to start off with something slightly different. Instead of just documenting the trades I've taken, I'm going to start to move my videos over to the thought process behind the planning of the trades, so that when I look back, I can see, exactly how the thought process was, what I was thinking, and the sort of hypothesis I had for the day going into the day. You should have a couple of good ideas, good trading ideas going into the day. So in front of you now is what was in front of me on Wednesday evening or Thursday morning. So basically that's the Wednesday's trade, Tuesdays, Mondays, etc. And there's a 5-minute chart down here, and I've got a 5-minute chart there with pivots on. I don't actually use pivots really, but I just like to know where we are in relation to yesterday's range, and that's what the pivots really are telling you. I'm more interested in where the pivot, the trade is in relation to the actual pivot point rather than the other ones. But anyway, let's look at the chart at the bottom. So I've got this, and I want key levels to jump straight out at me. So I've got one here, 67. Why is that? Well, you can see plenty of resistance there, plenty of resistance here. So to me, that's a key level. What else have we got? We've got another one here. You can see, probably down a touch. A lot of resistance there, support there. A level that the market has been interested in. And then the final one we can put there, or we can put here. It's a bit of flexibility with that one. So that's that. What else am I interested in? I'm obviously interested in this here. That'll be marked on my chart anyway as yesterday's high. But we can see how we've double topped there. So that becomes more interesting, which is why I'm going to put my own line in there. What else is interesting? Well, this is interesting here. Why is this interesting here? Because you've got this gap, this unfilled gap. We gapped up on Wednesday, and we haven't been back down there yet. So what I will do is I'll put a little rectangle just to remind me that any trade in this area, I'm going to look for final target of well, the final target will be the full gap. Officially the gap is there, which is 54, but because there's significant support here, I'll take it 10 or 13 ticks earlier at 65 to 70 would be my exit for that. So that's what I'm looking at, and that's how I plan the day. So I've got an idea where we're opening up. We're opening up slightly down. I'll do this about an hour before the open, maybe half an hour depending on with the data. And so I've got a couple of ideas, and my ideas for this morning were look at the overnight trade first. Let's see what's been happening with that. And I noticed that we'd pushed up. We'd had tagged this 11,100 level, and would start to push down. So there's a little bit of a very slight bearish bias. I'm fully aware that we're at fresh highs, and we just keep plodding on. We're over the 11,000 mark on the Dow Cash, and any dips are being bought. So I've got to be aware of that. So what are my two hypotheses for today? Well, going today, I've got 11k as my downside target on the YM. That's that yesterday's low, and that's that support that we had. I've also got written down that any break of that, any weakness, I'm going to look for that gap fill of 10,970. So that's also that. I'm also going to look. What I'm going to do, because of the direction we're in at the moment, I'm going to look to buy at 10,970. So I put down, that's a potential buy area. Obviously, it depends on the context. I'm not going to buy if the market is absolutely hammering through. There's some news out. That'd be foolish. But if it's stretched, if it's the right time, then I'm going to do a bit of tape reading. And if I can find a bit of a bottoming pattern around that area, then I'll take it. So that's one hypothesis. Another one is that we pushed up to the overnight resistance, which is around this the gap level, and then push lower. Another one was that we push lower, we don't get anywhere near that 11,000, push back up through the gap, pull back, and then I will look for another probe of that 11,100. So those are my ideas going into the day. I write them down, and I decide as the market starts to evolve and I start to get a read on it, what exactly I'm going to do. So that's what I'm doing at the beginning of the day. So let's get that out and let's get back onto the 1 minute. So this is the 1 minute. Right, let's get my drawing tool out and run through the actual trades. Trades wise, okay. Well, let's bear with me while I just zoom in on this so we can see what's happening. Okay, opening was interesting, and actually as we opened we pushed down here, tagged onto yesterday's low, fine, pushed back up, and as we couldn't push back up and close that gap, we saw this heavy down candle here, and a good low tick reading. So I went out, I took a short there at the midpoint of that candle. There's my short. My stop was going to be relatively tight above there. Target the 11,000. Always got that target there. That's what I'm looking for. That's the hypothesis. Push down, got one scale out. We started to bottom, push back up, gave it a little bit of opportunity to give me some more, putting back up to that breakdown level point. It did slightly, then started to pop back up, so I scratched the rest. So I only got a half scale on that. So that was the first one. Useful information, nevertheless. We couldn't fill the gap. We haven't been able to get to my target. So I wait for some more information from the market. Then we get this significant pushback up. Ticks go to new high, and I didn't jump on the gap fill because, as I just said, my hypothesis was to wait and see strength up in this area, and then look for some sort of pullback trade then for a probe of yesterday's high. So no trade there for me. We started to roll back down again, and while we were going through all this here, I was just not interested in it. I'm waiting to see a break one way or the other, or for the market to give me some sort of entry signal, and it did. Out of nowhere we got this little down candle here, but the interesting thing about that was, look at the volume on it. The volume was good, the tape was strong, so it was worth a go. Little half size short on that. It was only going to be again, I'm looking for that ultimate target, but I'm ready to scale out. If we push through this low here, and we got a little push through, got to scale out. No, didn't get a runner on that again, so came back, scratched the other half for a few tick profit. So nothing great on that one. Didn't get my 11k target on both of those, so I left that. That was it. The two trades, 10 ticks on half size. Then I was watching to see what was going on. This was a bit of a lucky trade, really. We'd pushed down to yesterday's low. I didn't get the first tag because I'm a little bit concerned of the momentum we had here and the time. But in hindsight, it was a great trade. It's around that 5 o'clock period that I like to see, right at a key level, and that was good for 20 ticks. That, which is a shame. Probably why I took the second push. Got the second push. When I got this nice little candle here, I thought, okay, well, I'll be given another opportunity there. So there was my long. I took the long there, and my stop was going to be just below the low. Started to push back down again. That's really not what you want to see. If you're taking a double bottom, you need to see the sellers covering and pushing straight back up. And my target was going to be this trend line that I'd drawn down here, somewhere up there, and the VWAP. So that's what I was looking for. Anyway, we came down, retested, really uncomfortable with this position, but we managed to get a pop back up. It chopped around, again, gave me 10 ticks before it pulled back, and I just ended up closing it there at that low point. Bit of a rubbish entry for my second scale, but again, just plodding along and just waiting for the better trade. And fortunately, patience paid off. What do we get? Let's just recap. Let's just go back again onto the 5 minute, bring that back in and see what we had. Here's the 5 minute. There was our this was our level here. The 10,670 was a point where we were looking to go long because of this significant support. So we'd had that ready, we had that prepared, and what happens? We get this great move down. Where do we come down to? Right down here, just under the 10,970. Really low ticks. Again, that's what we like to see, a good flush, get everybody out, get everyone panicking. And then, you wait for just that little trigger, just to let you in. So you're not on this one, you're waiting to see the retest. That's a little bit of an early retest, but when you've got the ticks not confirming, you can even wait for that little other one where the ticks just don't even go low. Anyway, whichever one you waited for, your entry wasn't far off that 70. I got it bang on the 70. Stop was obviously just under that low. And what was the low? 65. You could afford to have a 3-tick stop on, a 3-tick under the low stop, because it is this third test. You don't want to take the second test. You need to give it a bit of room if you're taking the first. If you're taking a long on the first test. If you're taking a long on the second test, you can afford to tighten your stop up slightly, because there shouldn't be a third test. It should be straight up from there. And if you're going to do that, if you're catching this and you believe that you've caught it, you need to try and hang on as long as you can for that larger move. And so the obvious point for me was my trend line. Exit there, second exit, VWAP, and that would look great at that point. It pushed up and it was a really good trade. It pushed up. We got the 20 ticks on that. We got 40 ticks on the last trade. Didn't take any heat at all. Textbook stuff, right on the level we're waiting for. That's what happens when patience pays off. We got this. It would have been great to sit with it, but I didn't. That was my target, and I was pleased to have it. Came out, and then of course, just on the close, we had the Google results. So that put everyone into a state of panic, and they were covering to the upside as it broke that last high. So that's just a quick overview of the trade I've done and my thought process going into the day. As always, email me, mark@thedaytradingroom.co.uk. Go and check out the blog, www.thedaytradingroom.com. Manage your risk, and we're back with another video shortly.